Hello, Oracles. So, what can we expect from the market this week? This week is going to be a massive week for earnings. This week is also going to be the last full week of the market being open before we get to the election. Now, we really haven't had typical election year volatility and turmoil going on leading up to this. Historically in an election year, we see September and October are really not good months. And then after the election, we seem to rally into the end of the year. We really didn't see any of that going on. So that kind of leads me to believe that we may not see it happen either in this week coming up. But again, you never know what's going to happen. So I just kind of take a step back and let the market give me what it's going to give me. But with that all said, the earnings this week, I think, are going to be the bigger piece. Last week, we got some earnings coming out. We got Tesla, of course, who smashed earnings. We saw some great results from that. Tesla ended up being up over 20% on the day. That was awesome, especially for you Tesla holders out there. We also saw earnings coming out from UPS last week. And I had mentioned it before that UPS was going to be one of those companies like FedEx that kind of gives us a sense of a pulse of how the economy is doing. Well, they had really good earnings as well. So that's kind of giving us that indication that, hey, you know what? Maybe the economy is doing better. And something else I look at, because there's a lot of stuff that's, lagging data, or, hey, we were there before, is maybe we kind of have been in that rolling recession that people have been talking about in 2022. And maybe we kind of came out of that. Maybe we are going to get a soft landing. Again, I still don't know, and I'm not going to give this any sort of rosy picture coming out whatsoever. I'm kind of still bracing myself for a potential recession next year, still following my plan and structure as it is, because it does favor both sides of the coin. And if we do end up seeing signs that we're not going to get into a recession, I can easily just adjust and add more to my portfolio. But I'm not adding to my portfolio right now because I don't know. If we're going to just keep on going up from here, I don't want to be one of those people that's like, I'm waiting for the recession and now I have a stockpile of cash and I'm forced to buy in at a higher price later. It's not the game I'm going to play either. I'm just dollar cost averaging my own way. But let me reel this back in for you here. So going forward in this week alone coming up, again, we've got a lot of the big earnings, and I'm going to go over all the earnings that are coming up this week. I'll show you guys the whole chart and I'll put it up on the screen. So if you guys want to just do a screenshot, if you're watching this on your phone, you can have it for your records as well. And then again, of course, we also have the last week before the election coming up. And again, don't know what's going to happen with all of that. And now before we get into this, please don't forget to hit that like button down below, subscribe to the channel. And for you guys who are members and patrons, I have an opportunity I want to present to all of you as well. So I'm going to post that later today so you guys can see what's going on there. I want to give you guys first access to this as a potential opportunity, and then I'll share it with everyone else afterwards. All right, so moving on with this week. So Monday, there typically aren't too many earnings that are going on, but there are some significant ones to pay attention to. So we've got Waste Management. That is a big one for a lot of dividend investors that are out there. It's one that I would like to get into, but my portfolio is pretty diversified as it is. So I may pick this one up at a later date. It's on my watch list. I don't own it yet. Welltower is another one that's a big one that is for dividend investors also. And then Ford. This is something that we had talked about previously, where earlier in the year, Tesla was taking the hit when it came to a lot of the deliveries going on, and the legacy automotive makers were not, because they sell to their dealers. And so their numbers can look good up front, but then their dealers' numbers are going to show that and reflect it later on in the year. And we're getting to that point now. So we'll see what Ford has to say about their deliveries and everything going on there. Now, moving on to Tuesday. Tuesday, we have McDonald's. Now, last week, McDonald's had a big issue with E. coli going on out west, saw the stock price drop significantly, but then rebounded nicely right afterwards. We will see how earnings treat McDonald's based off of all of this. Now, again, it was just last week, so I don't think that's going to affect their numbers significantly this quarter, but it might end up affecting their numbers next quarter. So we'll pay attention to see what's going on with McDonald's there. I do own McDonald's, and don't forget, McDonald's is one of the largest landowners in the world. Yes, they're known for their burgers and fries and Ronald McDonald and all of that, but they actually own most of the land that's out there, and most of the restaurants are franchise owned. Less and less are being owned by McDonald's these days, so they take a lot less of that responsibility. So they're almost kind of like a REIT. Then on Tuesday, we also have Pfizer coming out. Pfizer's been facing a lot of challenges over the last couple of years, so we'll see if they can see some sort of rebound coming out of this and turn it around. We've got American Tower. American Tower is a great REIT that a lot of dividend investors get into. PayPal is going to be a big one. We've got fintech that is starting to make that turn. And again, when you're looking at a revolution of things that are changing in this world, going from traditional banking to fintech and financial banking and doing a lot of things online, we are seeing that transition taking place. And as the younger generations get older, they're going to be more accustomed to this and go into those branches and those traditional banks as we see it today. So pay attention to see what's going on with PayPal. We've got BP as a good oil company that's coming out. EPD is another big one for dividend investors that are out there. This is an energy company that has been growing significantly. I did own EPD. I decided to drop EPD just because I didn't want to do all the K1 filing forms for my taxes. But again, if you don't mind doing that, they're a phenomenal company. They've been paying out great dividends over the years. Also on Tuesday, a huge one for me is SoFi. Love, love, love SoFi. If you guys are interested, like I cannot speak any more highly about SoFi. They're not perfect. They've got a long way to go when it comes to little things here and there. But quite honestly, again, comparing them to the traditional bank. Now, PayPal is fintech. SoFi is not specifically fintech, but they kind of are. And I got to say, SoFi just absolutely love this company from a consumer standpoint. And obviously, lately, they've been doing phenomenal from a stock standpoint, up significantly over the last week. My buy-in is about 784 is my cost basis, doing very well on them. I think they're going to pay dividends long down the road in the future. Again, this earnings is going to be big for them because if they can show profitability for a fourth quarter, which I have a feeling they will, we will have 1 year of profitability coming out of SoFi and can really start tracking those numbers going forward and start attaching significant PE ratios to them. That is where the game is going to start changing for SoFi. So I don't know if this run up into earnings is going to be a sell off at earnings. Truly don't know. I'm in this one for the long haul. And again, from a consumer standpoint, absolutely love it. If you guys are interested and want to check it out, I believe they're only in the US. I could be wrong, but I think they're only in the US right now. But if you are interested, I have links in the description down below to set up for both investing through SoFi, through banking through SoFi. All of it. Absolutely love their products, and they're only going to get better from here. Big ones on Tuesday after close. We've got Google, we've got Visa, we've got AMD, and of course, anytime a Magnificent Seven stock is going to go, it's going to be significant. Don't forget, Google started paying out dividends this year for the first time ever. So yes, they are a dividend company. So they are big on my list to continue adding to as long as they can show that they are going to continue growing. And quite honestly, I don't see any reason they wouldn't be unless they somehow flop entirely with AI. But between Google having, the search engine and YouTube, I think they're here to stay. Visa, of course, can give us an insight into how the consumer is feeling as well. AMD going along with NVIDIA to see how the AI movement is moving. Are we still continuing to grow here, or have we hit a wall? We've got Chipotle that is going to be coming out. Let's see how they've been doing without their CEO since their CEO moved over to Starbucks. We'll see how they've been handling all of that, especially considering that they've got a lot of bad rep going on with their company right now, with the quality of their food going down. A lot of people just talking crap about it. The portion sizes are down. So they've got a lot of negative stuff going for them, despite their split earlier this year. So we'll see how they're handling all of that negativity. Now, moving on to Wednesday, we've got Eli Lilly coming out. I do own that. They've been one of the best drug companies over the last 5 years. Abbvie is also coming out. I do own them as well. I love the dividends that they pay out and the growth I have been seeing on that. Cat is another one. Cat has been growing significantly, and Eli Lilly and Cat are both on my stock split watch list. So just pay attention. These two have been growing significantly. They may end up splitting sometime soon if this growth ends up continuing. So just keep your eye on both of those. And we've got ADP coming out now. ADP, my company just switched over to ADP for their payroll. And there's the ADP report that comes out when it tells us all about what's going on with employment. So seeing their numbers is also going to be significant because that can give us an insight into how the economy is doing when it comes to employment and when it comes to wages. We've got Kraft Heinz coming out on Wednesday also. This is another one that dividend investors love. And then after close on Wednesday, we've got Microsoft and Meta, two more of the Magnificent Seven. So again, we'll see how they're both going to do. Microsoft has kind of been sitting a little bit flatter as of late. They're still way, way up. Love them just long term. They've been such a solid long-term company that it was kind of a no-brainer to get invested in them. And Meta has just been booming. One of the absolute best performers, showing a lot of strength going forward. And I think they're going to continue this. And Meta also just started paying dividends this year as well. And Starbucks is also coming out on Wednesday, but we got those preliminary numbers last week. So we basically know exactly what's going to be transpiring. They're kind of transitioning into the new CEO. They removed all guidance for 2025 because they're kind of waiting to see what this transition is going to be with the new CEO. The stock faltered and then kind of rebounded relatively quickly right afterwards. So obviously the market kind of took that with a grain of salt, and they're like, well, we'll just wait and see how it goes. We're kind of moving forward with this. So we'll see what's going on. Their numbers didn't look all that great, but the stock didn't really reflect that a lot. I think there's a lot of optimism going forward with what's going on, the China turnaround, things like that. So we'll see how Starbucks fares. But again, their earnings basically came out last week, and this is just a formality, and they'll have the earnings call on Wednesday. On Wednesday, we also have MicroStrategy, who has been amazing this year due to the cryptocurrency market moving forward. We'll see what they have for earnings right there. Anybody who has the YieldMax MSTY has been doing very well. They just announced an over $4 per share payout when it comes to the MSTY ETF from YieldMax. But for me, this is not a play I want to get into. Too risky for me. Some people have that risk tolerance. Absolutely love it. And I'm sure you guys are doing great with it. Just not my thing. Coinbase is also coming out on Wednesday. I have the YieldMax ETF for Coinbase, CONY, have done very, very well with it. Very, very similar to people who have MicroStrategy right now. So I've been doing very well with that. And I just keep on rolling forward with it. I don't own any Coinbase stock itself, but those earnings there are going to give us also some insight when it comes to cryptocurrency. And then Robinhood, another fintech, is going to be coming out this week on Wednesday to give us some insight as to how their growth is going as well. On Thursday, we have MasterCard, and much like Visa, this is going to give us some insight as to how the consumer is doing. So I love MasterCard, one of my favorite dividend stocks that I own. Them, Visa, and Amex are the three that I have pointed out on a video. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. It is my top 5 dividend growth stocks, and these three hit number 1 on that list. So I absolutely love them. We also have Shell coming out, so seeing how the oil companies are doing, especially since oil has just been getting decimated over the last year or so. We will see how the oil companies are doing. We have 2 more coming on Friday. We also have Uber that is coming out. Now, Uber is one that I sold. Kind of wish I held it, but I truly don't know. I think Uber is going to be great. I believe they're going to be paying dividends eventually. For me, I was just kind of thinning up portions of my portfolio, but they are in my top 5 watch list to get back into. So I will see how they're going to perform after earnings. Maybe I dip back in, maybe I don't. But again, they are on my watch list as a company to keep on paying attention to and see how they move going forward, especially if they're going to be paying a dividend. We also have Altria coming out on Thursday. That is a huge one for dividend investors. Not something I want to get into. They look like they're going to be consistent going forward, but I think there's a lot better options out there when it comes to dividend plays and dividend growth. They're not going to be showing significant dividend growth. They do pay a relatively high yield, but I also like to invest in things that I believe in. And I'm not a huge fan of what they offer as product when it comes to smoking and vaping and all of that stuff. It's not really my thing. I'm not a fan of it. People who do it, perfectly fine. You guys do your own thing and live your own life. I have no qualms about that. Just not my thing, not something I want to promote and invest in. We also have Triple N that is coming out on Thursday. Triple N is another REIT that is out there that a lot of dividend investors get into, especially when it comes to income investing. REITs are a lot more for dividend income investors versus dividend growth investors. You will get some growth out of it. You'll get a little bit of stock appreciation, but realistically, they're just looking for a higher yield that is going to be bringing them in the income to either pay their bills or be able to build their portfolio in other ways. A lot of investors who are doing that don't actually drip that back into it. They just use that cash for other purposes, and that's what I do. I do not own this one in particular, but I do own 3 other REITs, and those 3 I do exactly just that. I just roll that cash into other stocks and other ETFs. Sometimes it is those based upon what my spreadsheet tells me, but for the most part, I just put all of that money into cash and then use it in other places. And then after close on Thursday, we've got 2 more of the Magnificent 7. We've got Apple and Amazon. I do own them both. I think Amazon, I did make the decision recently that I'm going to adjust them and put them into my dividend growth category to increase how much money I'm going to invest in them. They are currently not a dividend payer, but I have no doubt in the future they will pay a dividend. So for me, I just want to build up the shares now so that when they do pay that dividend, I will end up getting that extra bonus on it. Intel is also coming out. Intel has had a very, very rough year, cut their dividend entirely, kind of getting decimated. Don't know if they're even going to make it. I have a feeling they might be one of those companies that if we get into a recession and they get beat down even more, could be potentially bought out by maybe Nvidia, maybe Apple, maybe Microsoft, maybe Tesla buys them. I honestly don't know what's going to go on, but I have a feeling Intel is going to end up being one of those companies if we get into a recession and they get beat down even more, could be in a position where they get bought out. Vici Properties is also coming out on Thursday. Vici is one of those REITs that I was just talking about that I do own. Love them. Vegas Strip stuff. Las Vegas is like on their third wind right now. Booming economy over there. Sports teams want to go there. Everything is going on over there. Vegas is becoming that place to go again, and Vici Properties is going to reap the benefits from that. CubeSmart is another REIT that is out there that a lot of dividend investors get into. There's a lot of storage units that are out there, and of course, here in America, we love to be hoarders, so we just keep on storing everything and paying for it. But hey, If you're going to be investing in it, you're going to be making some money on it. And then on Friday, again, we typically don't have a lot of earnings on Friday, but before the bell on Friday, we are going to have Exxon Mobil, which I own, love it as a dividend stock. Again, love Tesla. I do love the whole transition over to renewable energy. I think Exxon will play a little bit of a role there. They're not going to be stupid. They're going to do what they need to help that transition. And oil is not going to go away entirely ever. And they're going to be sticking around for a long time. It's not like we're going to transition into renewable energy tomorrow. We've got decades before that truly ends up happening. So I think we've got some time. So I'm still going to hold on to Exxon Mobil. Chevron, very similar situation right there. Another awesome one. So a lot of dividend investors own one or the other or both of them. I've contemplated putting Chevron into my portfolio, but I already own Exxon Mobil and Occidental, so I'll just leave those two as it is. Another big one for dividend investors is T. Rowe Price. That one is coming out on Friday before the bell as well. And then for a lot of you speculative players that are out there, Fubo is coming out on Friday. I know there's a lot of people who play with those little smaller stocks, hoping for that big pop. That one is coming out on Friday. Let's see if they can start showing some profitability. So that's all we've got for this week. Again, just a lot of big earnings that are going on last week before the election. We'll see how the market is going to be moving itself one way or the other when it comes to this. In the past, sometimes we've seen a Magnificent Seven company come out, give us earnings. The market moves one way. The next day, we get another Magnificent Seven company, gives us earnings, and it moves the other direction. So again, I don't like to play the game of, which way is the market going to move based upon what numbers we're going to get and play all that. It's literally just a guessing game. And even if you guess right with what's going to happen with earnings, it doesn't mean that the stock is going to move in the direction that you think it's going to move either. So I don't play those games. I just say, hey, there's an opportunity. Maybe the stock did well, whatever it is, as long as the company is showing growth, not showing any fundamental issues, I leave them on my list. If my portfolio tells me to buy, I will buy. Otherwise, I don't. Strictly how I operate right there. Makes it very simple for me. I don't have to play that guessing game anymore. But again, we will see how this market plays out this week when we have all of these monster earnings coming. And again, leading into the election the week after. So that's all I've got for you guys today. Don't forget to hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support. Have a great one.